Have you ever gazed into someone's eyes and felt a pull that defies logic? That moment when your heart whispers, there's something deeper at play, stirring questions you can't ignore. In this video, we invite you on a journey into the hidden forces that draw two souls together and how those forces can transform your life. Carl Jung called these encounters synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that mirror the silent dialogue of your unconscious mind. Today, you'll learn why those chance meetings may be destiny calling, offering you a rare opportunity to integrate your shadow and rediscover forgotten parts of your soul. You'll uncover how true love can become a powerful catalyst for healing, revealing both your deepest wounds and your greatest potential. We'll dive into the archetypal dance of anima and animus, exploring how projections shape our relationships and how conscious love blooms when we strip away illusions. You'll see why conflicts and crises aren't signs of love's failure, but the very crucibles where lasting bonds are forged. Stay until the end to discover practical steps for recognizing these hidden signs, nurturing a sacred union built on awareness, and embarking on your path to wholeness. Don't miss a single insight your heart and soul will thank you. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. I've always been astonished by those moments, when you meet someone and your entire being lights up with an eerie familiarity. It's as if your soul whispers, "You've known this heart forever," and you can't help but murmur, "It felt like a reunion, not a first meeting." In my experience, these destined encounters carry an almost magical recognition, an invisible current that electrifies every nerve in your body. It's breathtaking and a little terrifying, because synchronicity becomes the bridge between our inner world and the universe's grand design. When the outer world starts mirroring your secret desires and fears, you realize destiny is no cold, mechanical plan. It's a living, breathing guide calling you toward wholeness. I've noticed that these life-changing meetings often arrive when we're standing on the edge of something new, when an old chapter has painfully closed and our hearts feel raw, empty, or torn. In those hushed, vulnerable spaces amid tears, heartbreak, or the silent ache of loss, the unconscious stirs most powerfully, nudging us toward exactly who or what we need next. Destiny, to me, feels like water, delicately fluid, yet irresistibly insistent, flowing around every obstacle until it carries us to the place where our soul can finally heal and grow. And true love, when it emerges from this profound calling, transcends every barrier of time and circumstance. I passionately believe that love born of fate isn't about owning someone or bending them to your will. It's about reunion, recognizing in another person the missing piece of your sense, a reflection of dreams and hopes you didn't even know you'd lost. Carl Jung's wisdom reminds us that we fall for archetypal symbols, those hidden images buried deep within us. Meeting that person is like unearthing a primordial memory, perhaps echoing from past lives or the deepest layers of our psyche. It's not merely two stories colliding, it's the convergence of two vast psychic universes, long calling out to each other across time and space. When that moment finally arrives, our hearts remember what our minds can't yet explain, and we step into destiny's embrace with trembling wonder. When destiny calls, it doesn't shout in sweeping declarations or demand our attention with fanfare. It whispers in the sacred hush between heartbeats. I still remember the first time I sensed its soft murmur, an almost imperceptible tremor that sent shivers down my spine, as if the universe itself was leaning in to share a secret. You might notice it in a sequence of uncanny coincidences, the same street name cropping up on different days, a chance encounter with a stranger whose laughter sounds hauntingly familiar, or a fleeting image in the corner of your eye that disappears before you can turn. Sometimes it arrives on the wings of a song, its chords resonating so deeply that tears well up unbidden, or in that vivid déjà vu when you're certain you've lived this very moment before. These aren't random glitches in the matrix. They're gentle ripples on the surface of reality, mirroring the deep stirrings of your soul. But hearing destiny's whisper demands a kind of wild courage, one that most of us shy away from. Our egos, ever the vigilant guardians of comfort and control, rush forward to dismiss these inklings as coincidence or wishful thinking. We cling to logic and reason because it feels safe, even when our hearts ache for something more. Yet destiny rarely travels the predictable road. It upends our routines, shakes the foundation of our fears, and nudges us toward the unfamiliar. And paradoxically, it is within that disquiet, the torment, the restless nights, the exhilarating fear of the unknown that we find our greatest potential to grow. When you finally surrender to this call, you discover that true love born of destiny is far more than a balm for loneliness. It is an invitation to awaken the deepest, most authentic layers of yourself. I've witnessed how such encounters ignite a profound alchemy, transforming raw pain into wisdom and fractured dreams into radiant visions. It's like uncovering a hidden chamber in your own heart, where all your dormant gifts have been waiting for release. This love transcends time and space. Years may pass, oceans may lie between you, entire lifetimes may rush by, yet that invisible thread remains unbroken, pulling you gently but relentlessly toward wholeness. It's not about possession or clinging, it's about reunion, the recognition of a missing piece you never knew was absent until it finally appears. In those electrifying moments, when your breath catches and your pulse races, you realize that what many call passion is only the prologue. The true story is a lifelong odyssey of self-discovery, healing, and sacred alignment. So listen for those whispers in your everyday life. Notice the sparks when an old song drifts through the air, or when a stranger's glance feels like a mirror to your soul. Be brave enough to follow the stirring in your chest, even if it leads you into uncharted territory. Because when destiny calls in that hushed tone, it carries a promise, not just of love, but of profound transformation, of stepping into the most vibrant, authentic version of yourself. And that, above all, is the greatest adventure of all. I've often been struck by how the electric thrill of new love isn't just about who that person is, rather it's about what they awaken within us. In Jungian terms, this is projection, a mysterious psychic dance where we unconsciously cast fragments of our soul onto another. In my own life, I've experienced the jaw-dropping moment when I realize I've fallen not solely for someone's smile or kindness, but because they embody a part of myself I'd buried deep down, perhaps a long-forgotten dream or a fiercely courageous impulse I once silenced. Projection can feel utterly magical at first. We idealize our partner, seeing them as a flawless savior, a mythic figure sculpted precisely to complete our sense of lack. There's a heady seduction in believing that with this person by our side, we are finally whole. I'll admit, I've danced along that edge, enchanted by the illusion of perfection, intoxicated by the promise of completion. Yet as time unfolds, these rose-tinted images inevitably begin to crack. The euphoria gives way to the humbling truth that our partner is, in fact, human, beautiful, and flawed in equal measure. It is precisely at this vulnerable crossroads, when the goddess or hero we worship dissolves into flesh and bone, that genuine love can emerge. If we dare to stare beyond our projections, we begin to recognize the deeper miracle. We are reconnecting with parts of ourselves that we once rejected or repressed. In that recognition lies the true turning point, the moment when love stops being a fantasy and becomes a shared journey of authenticity. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Jung taught us to name these inner images, the anima, the feminine essence dwelling within every man, and the animus, the masculine spark present in every woman. Far from cold, abstract theories, these archetypes pulse through our expectations, our wildest fantasies, and our most secret longings. When we encounter someone who incarnates these images, be it gentleness, strength, intuition, or boldness, we feel an irresistible pull. as though an ancient promise is calling us home. It transcends mere physical attraction or fleeting chemistry. It is an archetypal recognition, an electric chord struck deep in the collective heart. In this transformative stage, love becomes a rite of passage. We stand before another soul, not as a frightened child seeking completion, but as an adventurer ready to reclaim our lost fragments, to face our shadows, and to emerge more whole than ever before. And that, to me, is the most profound love story of all, one where two souls mirror each other's depths, and, in doing so, awaken the very essence of who they were always meant to be. I've often thought of love as the clearest mirror we'll ever hold up to ourselves. When we look into that mirror, every gesture, every unspoken hesitation, and every silent sigh reveals a hidden corner of our being. In those moments of raw reflection, we begin to recognize parts of ourselves we've long overlooked. The qualities we admire so deeply in another, their fearless compassion, their quiet strength, their boundless curiosity often shine a light on gifts we haven't yet dared to cultivate within our hearts. Conversely, the traits that irritate or wound us, impatience, envy, defensiveness, can feel like cold jolts, reminding us of the shadow side we instinctively deny, even as it shapes our choices and reactions. To me, that tension between light and dark is what Carl Jung meant by the journey of individuation, the courageous act of gathering every fragment of our psyche, both cherished and concealed, into a unified whole. True love, when it sweeps into our lives, becomes the most fertile soil for this inner alchemy. It disrupts our comfortable certainties and beckons us into unexplored terrain. I'll never forget the ache I felt when the idyllic image I'd painted of someone dissolved into something far more human, flaws and all. My heart clenched with frustration and disappointment, even anger, as I confronted the gap between fantasy and reality. Yet I now see that this painful collapse of projection is essential. It cracks open the door to conscious love. When we finally let go of loving our idealized creation and instead learn to cherish the real person standing before us, with all their quirks, vulnerabilities, and mysteries, something extraordinary unfolds. True love begins to blossom, not as a fleeting fairy tale, but as a living partnership. The other ceases to be an untouchable icon and becomes a true companion on our journey, a steadfast presence walking beside us through life's highs and lows. In this sacred laboratory of the soul, each disagreement becomes a chance to peel back another layer of illusion, to deepen self-awareness, and to expand the horizon of our consciousness. That, I believe, is the transformative power of genuine love. It challenges us, refines us, and ultimately guides us toward the greatest version of ourselves. I've come to believe that the fiery spark of first passion is never truly extinguished, rather. It undergoes a remarkable metamorphosis. That torrid rush of heartbeats and magnetic longing, which once felt like the entire universe collapsing into a single moment, does not lie dormant or vanish. Instead, it is alchemized into something deeper, sturdier, and infinitely more nourishing. Where once there was only breathtaking intensity, there now grows a quiet strength, a love rooted in daily acts of presence, shared laughter, and the unwavering choice to stand by one another when life grows stormy. In my own experience, I have watched that initial blaze settle into a warm, steadfast hearth, one that warms the coldest fears and illuminates the darkest doubts. But this transformation demands more than sentimentality. It calls for courage, the courage to surrender our cherished illusions, to face the unsexy realities of compromise and flawed humanity. It requires us to peel back the protective layers of pride and to say, I see you, every beautiful fault and every broken piece. In doing so, we learn to see ourselves more honestly too. We recognize where we've clung too tightly, projected fantasies onto our partner, or avoided the work of healing within our hearts. And in the painful but liberating act of integrating those projections, we discover a bond that transcends mere infatuation, a bond woven from conscious choice, profound empathy, and mutual vulnerability. No profound relationship sails smoothly through life's passage without encountering its abysses, those yawning chasms of unhealed pain, buried trauma, and the raw edges of our shadow selves. Carl Jung taught us that the shadow is not some remote, external monster, but the veiled parts of our psyche, the jealousies, resentments, and secret longings we've shoved into dark corners. It is within the sacred intimacy of deep connection that these shadows claw their way to the surface, demanding acknowledgement. In my darkest moments, I have felt my own fears and anger flare in arguments, only to realize they mirrored wounds I'd refused to face. Yet it is precisely in these crucibles of conflict, when we cling, when we lash out, when we tremble with raw vulnerability, that love proves its alchemical power. For true love is not the avoidance of pain, but the courageous willingness to traverse those shadowy regions together, hand in trembling hand. It is in witnessing another's suffering and daring to hold space for their darkest night of the soul that we forge an unbreakable alliance. Such love does more than adorn life. With fleeting highs, it transforms us from the inside out, rewriting our story from fractured to whole, from alone to united. And in that transformation, we discover the extraordinary truth. The path of love is the path of our becoming. I believe the shadow, those parts of ourselves we've buried deep to fit in, is both our heaviest burden and our greatest gift. It's the collection of fears that keep us safe yet suffocate our dreams. The anger we swallow to appear nice, the jealousy that gnaws at our peace, the resentments we replay like broken records, and the secret desires we dare not name. In the tender cocoon of a loving relationship, these buried fragments often erupt with startling intensity, catching us off guard. We find ourselves bewildered by sudden waves of hurt or rage, as though the very closeness we crave has invited a storm of vulnerability. Yet, paradoxically, it's this same intimacy that holds the key to our liberation. When someone truly sees us, when their gaze refuses to look away from our trembling edge, they become a living mirror for both our beauty and our wounds. In my own life, I've felt that moment of raw exposure, when a partner's gentle question about my silence shattered my carefully constructed facade. It hurt like a blow, yet it also cracked me open, revealing the fragile ache I'd been too frightened to admit. Conflicts, misunderstandings, jealousy, and distrust aren't the death knell of love, but sacred invitations to dive deeper into self-awareness. Each heated argument, each pang of insecurity, lifts a corner of the veil, asking us to confront what we've long denied. I remember nights when resentment flared between us, and in the fierce glare of that conflict, I recognized my pattern of shutting down. It was both terrifying and exhilarating. In that symbolic battleground, my ego's defenses were forced to loosen their grip, and I discovered a hidden reservoir of compassion I never knew I possessed. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. In this alchemical furnace of relationship, our illusions are incinerated, and our rawest impulses are brought to light. It's not a gentle process. It scorches and demands courage, but it is precisely through this fire that love is purified. I've witnessed this transformation in myself and others. The moment when resentment dissolves into understanding, when control gives way to empathy, and when the shadows we once feared become the very conditions for our deepest healing. Love, when subjected to this trial, emerges not as a fragile sentiment, but as a radiant, unbreakable bond, forged in the crucible of our shared humanity. I've come to realize that love strong enough to weather life's fiercest storms isn't one that shrinks from disagreements or pretends conflict doesn't exist. Rather, it's the kind of love that plunges headfirst into the heart of tension, armed with honesty, courage, and a relentless commitment to growth. Loving someone deeply means accepting that we will sometimes feel raw pain as we confront our deepest insecurities, that we will mourn the collapse of our rose-tinted illusions, and that we will have to learn to let go of perfection in ourselves and each other. Embarking on this journey through the shadow, those dark, unspoken parts of our psyche, is often a deeply personal quest, but I have found that a committed relationship can accelerate the process in unexpected ways. When you share your life with someone, there's no hiding the wounds that lie beneath the surface. They bubble up when you least expect it, demanding attention. In my own life, I've been both terrified and grateful when a heated argument revealed a long-buried fear I didn't even know I was carrying. Those moments feel like being thrown into a churning sea, but they also force us to learn to swim. Navigating these turbulent waters requires radical self-awareness and the humility to own our emotions without pointing fingers. Jung's warning that what we refuse to face in our unconscious returns, as destiny rings profoundly true in relationships. We inevitably reenact old patterns, self-sabotage with familiar habits, and attract partners who mirror our unhealed wounds. Yet, if we're brave enough to listen, to sit with the discomfort and hear the hidden message, each repetition transforms from a prison into a portal. I believe that when two people choose to weather these trials together, their bond evolves from a fragile fantasy into a living testament of resilience. It's no longer about shared hobbies or happy memories alone. It's about having survived chaos side by side. Love that endures the shadow is marked by genuine respect rather than naive idealization, by steadfast presence rather than unrealistic demands, and by a willingness to turn conflict into a springboard for deeper intimacy. In this light, every argument, every uneasy silence, and every crisis becomes a sacred invitation to explore something richer within ourselves. It is in the crucible of our shared struggles that love is truly forged, and it is there, amid the ashes of our old selves, that we discover the extraordinary power of a love that liberates rather than confines. I've come to believe that when we truly look at our partner with open hearts and unguarded minds, love doesn't just become a comfort, it becomes a profound healing force that mends the hidden fractures of the soul. It's in those moments of genuine presence, when we resist the pull of desire, when we catch ourselves before projecting our long-buried fears, that love steps beyond mere emotion or physical longing and enters the realm of the sacred. Carl Jung spoke of this as the convergence of internal polarities, that extraordinary instant when our anima and animus, once scattered images dancing on the edges of consciousness, finally come home to roost within us. To me, this is the alchemical marriage of the soul, the feminine and masculine within each of us no longer hovering as idealized figures, but recognized as living, breathing aspects of our psyche. I've felt it in the quiet gravity of shared glances, where you sense not a stranger, but a mirror of your own deepest truths. When these inner archetypes stop being fantasized projections and begin to integrate into our very being, the other ceases to be a mere reflection of our incompleteness. Instead, they stand beside us as an authentic companion, no longer filling a void, but walking alongside us in a dance of mutual wholeness. There's a silent harmony in this union that needs no proof, no possession, no control. It's a bond forged in vulnerability, where each person offers themselves fully, strengths and shortcomings alike, without fear. I'm convinced that when two souls meet at this level of consciousness, something rare is born: total love. It is love that doesn't cling or demand, but breathes freely in the spaciousness between two awakened hearts. In that sacred space, love becomes not just the journey, but the destination, a living testament to our shared capacity for transformation, integration, and the ultimate reunion with ourselves. I truly believe that genuine love isn't about two souls merging into a single entity, but about two hearts choosing to walk side by side in profound communion. In my experience, when two people come together in this way, they don't lose their distinct identities. Instead, they unfold and expand, each nourishing the other's growth. This sacred union mirrors the deepest impulse of the soul toward wholeness, reminding me that true completeness isn't rooted in perfection, but in the artful integration of our light and shadow selves. When our inner masculine and feminine energies reside in harmony, we no longer relate from a place of need or lack, we relate from overflowing abundance and joy. I've witnessed relationships that ascend into soulful odysseys, transcending the mundane rhythms of daily life. In these bonds, a partner becomes more than a lover, they become a wise teacher, a fearless mirror, and a gentle guide. Suddenly, every ordinary moment turns symbolic. A shared glance speaks volumes, a quiet silence is a soft sanctuary, and even the simplest ritual morning coffee, evening walks, feels like a tender dance of the psyche. This love isn't confined to flowery words or grand romantic gestures. It lives in the rhythms of our shared breath, the unspoken understanding in our eyes, and the supportive presence we offer one another day after day. Of course, the sacred union is not immune to hardship. I've felt the tremor of fear when crises arise. Yet I've learned that these challenges are not threats but invitations, each one a new threshold on the path of individuation. When conflict appears, it no longer shakes our foundation. Instead, it refines it. We meet each trial with emotional maturity and a symbolic vision, trusting that the crucible of pain can forge an even deeper intimacy. In this rare form of love, neither partner fears exposing the nakedness of their soul. Together, they choose courage over comfort, truth over illusion, and in doing so, discover that the greatest gift of love is not possession, but the freedom to grow both individually and as a radiant, evolving we. As we wrap up this exploration of destiny, projection, and the alchemy of true love, take a moment to reflect on what resonated most deeply with you. What have you learned so far, and which insight will you bring into your own relationships and inner journey? Share one thing below this video that you'll put into practice in your life. If you like this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.